Hey everyone, welcome to Youth Partnership in Action to Change Tomorrow, or better known as Youth PACT 2022, proudly brought to you by Taylor's College and MIDP. My name is Amelia Sharif and I will be your host for today. If you're just joining us right now, I want to specifically welcome you to the first workshop of Youth PACT. The title of this workshop is Addressing Injustices Through Social Innovation. A lot of big words there, but I'm pretty sure your questions will be answered throughout the workshop later on. Before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about Youth PACT. I remember the first meeting we had, and by we, I mean Taylor's College and MIDP. We sat down and we asked ourselves, what can we do to show our support to the brilliant young advocates that we have? What can we do to platform and celebrate their work, their passion, their values, and most importantly, all that they have done and will continue to do to fight for a better Malaysia? And that was how Youth PACT was born. In a nutshell, Youth PACT aims to bring young Malaysians together with youth leaders and change makers to encourage action and inspire change. In an effort to be inclusive, every Youth PACT session will also be translated into Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, BIM, live, so that the deaf community can also take part and contribute to these conversations. We also have enabled live captions for those of you who need it. If you don't want to use the live caption function, you can actually turn it off at the bottom bar or in your settings. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Lucy and Jonah, whom you will see later, for agreeing to help us with this and for being our translators for today as well as for tomorrow. To recap, in the morning, we had a youth manifesto session where respected youth leaders, they have shared their hopes and demands for the changes they want to see on a variety of subjects. They have also shared the initiatives that they are promoting to make Malaysia a better place. Though we may be living in bleak times, the vision of our youth leaders is enough to keep me at least feel optimistic for our future. In fact, I feel comforted listening to their presentations this morning because I feel that it is inevitable that we will have a better future with our youth involved. But they can't do it all alone. That's where we need you to take up the mantle and fight the good fight together with everyone. If you're curious about all the activities that we have planned for today and tomorrow, we have actually prepared a teaser video which will sort of like recap everything that will happen and to give you a bit of a background about Youth PACT. So please enjoy the teaser video.
Malaysia has amended the federal constitution to lower the voting age from 21 to 18.
Where do we stand as the youth of Malaysia?
Malaysia's education system has grown so segregated where many of our generation grew up without having the chance to interact and learn with those different from us.
They say that the youths are the future leaders, but I say youths are the current leaders.
Apakah kuasa anak muda dalam menentukan hala tuju negara?
I just want schools to be safe.
We envision a Malaysia where the youth are able to navigate differences and have the knowledge and skills needed to live, collaborate, and work with people of different kinds.
Who are we? We make up 28% of Malaysia's population. We care about what's happening around us.
I hope you realize that in each of these, and that itself is the greatest thing that you can do for the world, is to realize your own potential.
And we want change. In this 2-day online event, join youths across the nation. Participate in impactful conversations. Let your voice be heard.
So it's a small things. I think when we talk about wanting to create change, it is important to break down what change means.
Be part of the future.
The future is bright for one reason only, because you will grow up and you will be our future.
Join the Youth PACT now.
All right. Now that you've watched the teaser video, let's learn a little bit about the organizers. First, I'd like to introduce you to the Taylor's Risers community. This is basically a platform for high school students and even teachers and educators to get connected and participate in various empowerment programs, skills development initiatives, and all these programs are for free. We would like to invite you all to join the Risers community, and you can do so by downloading the app. For more information about Risers, we have actually prepared a video for you. So if this is something that you're interested in, or if this is something that you can benefit from, we strongly encourage you to download the app so that you can get updates on all of the events and happenings and, you know, participate in them. So let's take a look. Here's the Risers community.
Hey Jed, what have you posted recently on the Risers app?
I posted these awesome socializing tips books to help people remember names better.
Wow, that's a great insight for the student.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey guys, I have something I want to show you.
What's it about?
It's, I don't know, maybe a video about us?
No really. What's it about?
I've already said, no, it's a video about us.
I know that video.
Hey. Hey guys, what are you doing?
Can we join?
Yes, surely.
Come on.
Come on, grab a seat.
Alright, let me log in. Quick. I took a really long time to make this, alright? So I hope it's good. Okay?
Whoa, alright.
You guys ready?
Yes.
In 3, 2, 1. It can be stressful being in school and planning your future career. All of this can be overwhelming. We know, and you're not alone.
This is why we've established the Risers community to help secondary school students like you navigate through their many unanswered questions, providing support and help to prepare them for their college experience and beyond.
From hosting more than 700 secondary school students at our Taylor's Future movement, to offering a total of 22 exciting and engaging workshops, we want to help equip and empower you to have the best college experience.
To keep in touch and up to date with the latest from the Risers community, we launched the Risers app with an amazing live show. Plus, winners walked away with food vouchers, Risers t-shirts, and a Nintendo Switch Lite. Get connected, get updated on exciting events, learn about interesting topics, and stand a chance to win exciting prizes and merchandise just by interacting on the app.
While 2020 was a tough year for everyone, the Risers community decided to support the Ministry of Education's Kita Jaga Kita initiative by installing billboards, banners, and stickers at 40 secondary schools all across Malaysia to remind students to follow SOP and keep good hygiene.
We partnered with an online tuition platform to carry out online classes, giving out more than 1 million ringgit worth of scholarships to deserving students. Educational events and a series of online SPM workshops were organized to give students a boost right before the big day.
The Risers community is growing every day and we can't wait for you to be part of it too. Join us today for an amazing college experience.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, that was amazing. That was us.
You did all that as risers?
That's right.
Whoa, you know what? This is really cool. Can I join?
Of course!
If you are a school student aged 16 to 17, you can be a riser too.
That's right, Sham. Just go to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and download the Risers app. Register and earn points to redeem awesome rewards.
Wow, it's really that simple. What are you waiting for then? Download the app now.
No, go, go!
That looks awesome. I was just thinking about the time when I was in school, and I was really thinking about how there was nothing like that for me to join in. So that's such a great initiative. For those of you who may benefit from that, please download the Risers app. Up next, let's hear a little bit about MIDP. For those of you who don't know, MIDP is Malaysian Institute for Debate and Public Speaking. We've been around since 2010, and we provide all sorts of training, events, competition surrounding soft skills education. Our mission is to make soft skills accessible and to improve soft skills literacy in Malaysia. But let's not hear me talk about it. We'd like you to hear from our youngest and brightest. And when I say youngest, they are basically around 8-9 years old in this video. And they will tell you about MIDP, why they join us, and the amazing work that we do. So please enjoy. Are you guys ready for some questions? Why is eye contact very important? Yes.
Eye contact is very important because, you know why? I give you an example. When you're talking to somebody, you look at the wall, it means that you're talking to the wall.
Why are hand gestures important?
To interact with the audience, so it makes them feel like they're connected with you.
Why is it important for people to feel connected?
Okay. It's important to feel connected with people because, like, if you're not feeling connected to a person, the person will be like, I don't get what you're saying.
Alright, but why do you think emotions are important?
Emotions are very important because, so for example, if you are saying a story and you say it's supposed to be a sad story, but then you say like this. Once upon a time, there was a car accident, a 3-man died, one because he got killed by the wolf. People also like, why what's the speaker because they don't feel what you are talking about.
Actually, speaking of competitions, all of you are actually national champions or amazing finalists. But were you always this articulate and confident with yourself?
Well, I was not that brave at first, but but my mind kept on saying, just chill, and speak. So I did it with a positive mindset, and I did my story perfectly.
I was never this brave, and I'm still a little bit shy. But last time, before I joined MIDP, I was really shy and I wasn't very good at socializing. This one time when I was out with my friend and his father, we were lining up to go to a restaurant, and then we saw this kid playing some game. After me and my friends started talking about it, then my friend's father said, why don't you ask him what game he's playing? Then I said, but isn't that weird? Then his father said, no, it's good to socialize. So me and my friend went over to talk to that kid. It was going really well. Then after that, it started getting really awkward. Then the kid said, can you guys leave me alone?
So why did you all decide to join MIDP?
I joined MIDP because I want to further improving all my soft skills, interpersonal skills, and critical thinking skills. I know MIDP is the perfect place for me to unleash my talents, a place where I can learn and get better every day. I joined MIDP because actually I wasn't interested in public speaking or anything like that. But then my parents said I talk a lot, so they asked me to join public speaking. But when I joined public speaking, it was actually really fun and not at all how I expected it. And then after a while, I actually started enjoying MIDP and started wanting to go there every day to Oh, that's good. I joined MIDP because I want to enhance my soft skills. I enjoy socializing with people, so MIDP is definitely the best place for me to express my feelings, my thoughts, and share my ideas with like-minded friends.
Aren't they adorable? I have watched this video thousands of times and I smile every time I watch it because, well, I feel a little proud, but also they're very cute and very cool. Up next, a little of, I guess, house rules for everyone. For those of you on Zoom, please keep your camera on, but stay muted at all times. You can also leave your questions and comments in the Zoom chat, which we are keeping an eye on. But this is a workshop, so there'll be two parts to it. The first part is our speaker will do a presentation. You can engage via the chat box during the presentation. After the presentation, there will be some activities and you will be able to unmute yourself at that point to participate in the discussion and the activities that the speaker has prepared for you. Note that this session will be live streamed, but only the presentation in the beginning. So when you're doing the activities and the discussion later on, we will end the live streaming, to create a safe space so that you can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, and basically, interact as how you want to throughout that process. So I guess that hopefully our Facebook viewers can also take note about that. And note that if you have any questions for the speaker later on, you can always reach out to the speaker afterwards as well. Now that's out of the way, it's time for you to meet our awesome trainer for this workshop. I would like to welcome none other than Rashvin Singh to join me on this virtual stage. Hi Rashvin, thanks for joining us. Let me just introduce him a little bit in case you don't know who he is. Rashvin Singh leads the Biji-Biji group, which is one of Malaysia's pioneering and award-winning social innovation organization. Since 2013, they have created a series of successful social innovation models and enterprises across circular economy, ethical fashion, and alternative energy. Their latest venture is Me.reka, which is an education and innovation platform designed to connect people with educational content, experts, and technology. In 2019, Biji-Biji won the Common Objective CEO Leadership Award in the UK, and in 2018, Biji-Biji was recognized as the Social Enterprise of the Year as the Sustainable Business Award. Rashvin has also been involved in various global and regional engagements, including being a panelist at the Social Enterprise World Forum in 2019 and 2020. He's also was a part of the Asian Financial Forum 2021 and Sustainable Brands Asia Pacific 2021 as well. He's also has been selected as Obama leader in the Asia Pacific inaugural cohort in 2020. He is passionate about inclusive and creative economies, social innovation, platform business models, music, and people. And we're so lucky to have him today with us. Rashvin, welcome on board. I will not take more of your time. The floor is yours.
Hey, thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Yes, hope you're all doing well. Is my audio good? Yeah? Fantastic. Yes. Okay, fantastic. First things first, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Em, for that very thorough and very in-depth introduction. That's usually the very awkward part, and I'm happy to get that done. So I'm Rashvin, and I'm super excited to be here to have this session with all of you. There's 50 plus of us here, and to all our live stream audience, glad you can join us. As Emilia shared today, we'll be talking about addressing social injustice through social innovation. And injustice, as you know, is a massive topic. There's many facades and facets of injustice. And we're going to look at it from a practical standpoint of how we can use social innovation tools to solve this. So in today's session, there's two parts, right? The first part, as Em shared, I'll be sharing sort of our experience and how we've been tackling social innovation through the work at Biji-Biji and Me.reka. And we'll go through that. I'd love to have some questions. Let's keep this as fluid as possible, right? So although you're probably listening to my voice a lot, but I would love for you to chat away. I'll check it as much as I can. And once I share a bit of, to give you some context of how it's been applied, then the second half of it, the later half of it, which is just for the Zoom participants, we'll go through a problem tree analysis. We'll go through a hypothetical scenario, and we'll sort of have a discussion. So I'd love for you to unmute yourself. Let's have a chat. Let's just get into it. Now, before I share my screen, just big round of applause to the MIDP team. This is a fantastic, fantastic effort, right? I looked at all the speakers and all the topics and all the workshops, the forums. Amazing respect to you all, and even Taylor's College. We work with them. So yeah, very excited to have all the partners here. And also thank you, Lucy and Jonah, for interpreting this for us. Big hugs to you. Now, without further ado, allow me to share my screen. Just give me a thumbs up if everyone sees this, Lucy. Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, so yes, injustice through social innovation. Let's get into it. This is just my own slide, for the next one. Now, just to give a bit of context, right? So at Biji-Biji and Me.reka, our larger mission is we want to change the way people do business. We want to change the way people think about circularity and circular economy, which I will touch a bit about after this. And ultimately, we want to prepare our youth and adults for the future of work through the sharing economy. Now, as we all know, the future of work, or just the future itself, it's such an exciting yet daunting space, right? And how do we navigate that? How do we solve all the different gaps that we have in society? How do we tackle that? So just on this topic, right, of social injustice, and, injustice is a huge area. And a lot of times we think injustice is something that is illegal, right? It's illegal is if someone's done something wrong. Now, that's the kind of injustice that usually gets captured. There is the legal system in place to tackle that, to solve that. However, injustice also happens in a lot of things that are not illegal, right? Injustice happens in terms of equality, equal access to education, access for girls to get education, to be in tech, how we talk about sexual health, mental health, how do we talk about individual rights? So there are a lot of things that are also even environment, right? Pollution, a lot of things are sometimes borderline gray, but as society, we can agree ourselves that that is not correct. That is not the best way to do it. We have a system that works, but in every system, there will be some gaps, some cracks. And how do we, as young leaders, as citizens of this country, as civic society members, how do we use the tools around us? How do we use capital around us to solve this? So that is the topic today, injustice, which has many different faces, and how do we use what's around us, applying social innovation to solve it. So before I get into some of the detailed stuff, I'll just share a bit about Biji-Biji and Me.reka and how we started, right? So just to sort of share and get to know everybody in the room, hope it's a bit fun. So this is the few teams that we run. We've got the Biji-Biji team, which does circular economy work, sustainability work. We're doing a lot more education work at this point on environment. So we've got a Beyond Bings program, and we've got an ethical fashion line called Biji-Biji Ethical Fashion. Now, on the other side, we've got Me.reka. At Me.reka, we run digital education programs, digital entrepreneurship being one of our flagship programs. We have a platform called Marekaio. We have a makerspace that we run in Publica and one with Taylor's University. And we have a Taylor's Me.reka makerspace. So a few different things. You might wonder how it all ties in. I'd love to jump into that. But first, how did it happen, right? So now we're a team of about 40 of us full-time. This is an old picture, but just imagine different faces, but still very fantastic people. How did it all start? So in the beginning, me and a few friends, so imagine we were all 25, 26, right? This is 2012. And, I was doing a corporate job. I was in PwC. My other colleagues, Gurpreet, he was a physicist doing energy projects. Zoe, she was in development. Azam was in media. We met William, Juliana, Matthew. So we were all doing different things in our lives. However, we all had this common, sort of this tingling feeling, that we were okay, right? Urban living, semi-comfortable with our challenges, but something wasn't right. we could see around us, there was a lot of environmental problems. There was a lot of, education gaps, right? People wanted to design, innovate, create products. So we, at that point, were really passionate about environment work. And we were like, you know what? Let's start with something fancy, right? So we thought, let's have this dream and let's build an eco resort. And the eco resort was going to be something that would exemplify sustainable living. So imagine built from bamboo, renewable energy, composting, right? Rainwater harvesting systems, organic food, that whole ecosystem. So we were excited, young, so we wrote some proposals, got it sent out. We got completely shut down, right? We had no idea how to do this. We were just excited. But that didn't stop us right there. So we were like, okay, hang on a minute. Maybe we don't know how to do an eco resort. Maybe that's just a dream, but let's start small. So to have that, what we needed was we knew that for the resort, for that setup, that education center, community center, we wanted it to be built with upcycled furniture. Upcycled here meaning using discarded or waste materials. So we're like, okay, you know what? Maybe we could start small. So if we can't build the big thing, let's start building the small things. And the smallest thing there being, let's start with the furniture. So we started from our condo, right? We lived in an apartment together. So we started making things from our house. Our neighbors thought we were perpetually under renovation. They were like, what's up with these neighbors, right? Tak habis, constantly doing something. But they were nice. We were friends with them. We made it work. Now from the condo, we moved on. We took a house, right? And this is a house where we worked somewhere in Jalan Ipoh, and we couldn't afford an office. So we took the ground floor, which is our workshop space. We rented out the rooms upstairs so that we could cover the cost and we could afford it. Now, going back, this is 2013, 2014, we did this work. And then we had this leap of faith. We're like, you know what? Let's do this a bit bigger. So we took a factory in Pandamaran, in Klang. We did that for a good 2 years. However, we were not the best at optimizing some of our operations. So at 2018, and also through some business downturns, we had to close it down. Very sad moment, but this is the things you have to go through in life, right? You do something, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Most important is to get it done. And then we came across this opportunity with Publica where they were looking for people to come into the space, to take up this big space. So how it happened was at Biji-Biji, we were starting off building products, right? So we made furniture, we made bags. When we were doing this, and imagine we were 25, 26, the biggest issue we had back then was we couldn't get access to tools. Now, if you wanted to use a welding machine, a 3D printer, electronics equipment, right? Or you wanted to use high-end software, CAD software, where would you go? And we would drive an hour to Klang to some uncle's place. We would go to Cheras to borrow someone's sewing machines. We would drive to Segambut to borrow this uncle's welding machine. We had to drive all over just to borrow tools on a Saturday afternoon, like today, on a Sunday evening, right? The same way you were here to attend this session, we were also driving around to figure things out. Then some of our friends and our partners were like, you know what? Actually, Rash, like when they were studying overseas, there was this concept called maker spaces. And a maker space is essentially a workshop with different labs, right? So at Me.reka, there is a wood and metal workshop. We call it the Fab Lab. We've got an electronics workshop. We have a textiles fashion workshop. We used to have a VR zone that we've converted into a multimedia Zoom room. We've got a design zone where we do 3D printing, laser cutting. And the whole idea is about sharing economy. If each of us want to solve a problem, want to make something, want to create something, we do not need to all own the same set of tools. Or what if we could share these tools and then all work collaboratively, but also independently to achieve our objectives? So that was the ethos of Me.reka, and Me.reka being the word, Me.reka. Now, fast forward, that is where we are today. So in terms of social innovation, right? So why this thing really captured our attention was taking in a good example online is social innovation is the process of designing, developing, and growing new ideas to meet social challenges. As I said in the beginning, we've got systems and structures that exist, but they are inadequate to tackle all of the gaps. They are always missing links to society. How do we make it more inclusive? And social innovation is looking at the resources around us that we can use to solve that. So it's applying innovation to solve social problems, simply put. Now, Nesta is a fantastic resource, and I'll suggest you strongly go and check them. They are an UK-based innovation foundation. They have a lot of amazing resources on social innovation, so do check it out. And they've kind of identified it in a 7-step process, right? So first, you would sort of see, visualize, or experience a challenge or opportunity. Then you would go into a generating idea phase. Over here, you could use design thinking as an approach. Design thinking is fantastic. Helps you break down a problem to coming up with a prototype and testing it out. Similar over here, you would develop and test it out at stage 3. Stage 4, you want to make the case, test, see whether the assumptions are working. And then you want to implement it. You want to deliver this, go down on the ground, test it out, talk to communities, see how it works. Does it actually solve the problem? Is it creating another side problem? And then you want to evolve into, is this going to scale? Because some problems can be solved at scale. Some problems need to be solved very customized, localized solutions. So I'm not a proponent of everything must be scaled. I think some things must be localized to suit context. However, at the top part, we can all share ideas and resources together. And lastly, if that idea can be scaled, that solution can be scaled, how do we then look at that to apply at a larger systemic change? How do we create systems change? And systems change is when we create an entire new method of doing something. We question the assumptions that exist. We're like, why must this be like this? Couldn't this be done differently, right? Why can't we, tackle, for example, we've got kids who are out of school, we've got retirees who are in the same neighborhood, there is a shopping mall that has an empty floor. Why can't we bring the retirees? Why can't we use an empty building? Why can't we bring the kids into this place? Why can't we work a model? Why can't we run some tuition classes so those who can afford can pay, those who cannot pay can get free classes, right? So these are things that you want to look at. And once that works, if that works at the stage 6, that could possibly be a government policy or a city council policy. Then you want to implement it, you want to deliver this, go down on the ground, a lot of us want to create, we always think, or maybe policy is what needs to happen. Everything is the government has to solve it. The government has to do it. But I do think we, the people, have a lot of power, a lot of talent. If we can start doing things on our own, we can help to inspire government. We can help to work with government. We can help to work with city councils, with agencies, with state players, with NGOs to prove solutions that work and to take this further and, of course, ultimately create that systemic change. So this is a lot of things happening at the slides, and I will. So can anyone walk into Me.reka, Sharifah? Yes, absolutely. As long as you use My Sejahtera and check in, you can be there, right? We were kind of quiet during COVID. We were running everything virtually, but give us a couple of weeks. Just say after CNY, we'll be having an open to public again. And what happens at Me.reka is we do allow the public to come and use our tools for free. We charge corporates and businesses to use it. There is an open day once a month where you can come and test out whatever you want to do. That is free of charge. If you want to use the tools for personal, there are certain times you can do it. If you're doing it for a paid commercial project, there's a rental fee. Now, back to what I was talking about in terms of capital, right? So this is the thing that got us most excited at Biji-Biji and Me.reka. And the more we thought about it, there is actually so many different types of capital that is there that we can unlock. Now, let's take the first example. So I always start with the most important capital we need is social capital, right? Social capital is what we have as citizens, as friends, as a community. Social capital is our networks, the value of our diversity. Like this room, I see so many different people in this room, which is fantastic. How do we create a safe space? How do we empower each other? Why it's super important, and this is what we take for granted, is that you can only work as a community, as a collective, if you have trust between each other. So when you have social capital between each other, we then are able to move from a distrust or from a shak wasanka mindset. We can now elevate ourselves and be like, you know what, both you and me want the same thing. Now, how do we share our ideas, our resources, and make things better? So as you would know, you've worked in teams, whether in college or school or university or in the office. If you don't get along with your teammates, nothing's going to happen. So the first thing is unlocking social capital or having that as the foundation. But then there's a lot of other capitals, right? And these are just some that we came up with, right? So the obvious one is financial capital, right? I'll be honest, team, the world does not lack money. The world has, in fact, probably more money than it needs. The challenge here is how to unlock that money, which is at the trillions of dollars at the global stock markets, at investment funds, at bank accounts in Davos in Switzerland. How do we unlock that to channel it to the most in need projects? To do that, we need to be able to write good investment papers, project papers, grant documents. So there's that, right? How do we bring financial talent? How do we work with investment bankers, financial people to sort of solve this problem for us? Then you've got natural capital. Natural capital is really the value you get from an intact, biodiverse environment. Having a complete forest, a complete ecosystem, ocean ecosystem creates a lot more multiplier values. So having that, how do we harness that? Better quality of air, like the floods that just happened, although that's part of climate change, but some of it is also human cost, right? Which is of course human cost, climate change. And then you've got technological tools. Now, this is something that really excites us a lot. How do we use tools like blockchain technology? How do we use platform models? How do we use tool sharing concepts using tech to unlock these things? Talent capital is a huge one. How do we tap into academia, right? Universities have a fantastic set of professors, adjunct lecturers, academics. How do we work with them? How do we work with professionals? How do we work with retirees? How do we tap our best minds to solve our most pressing issues? And another kind of capital is manufactured capital or resource capital. Imagine things like machinery that are in factories, right? So if a factory works Monday to Friday, on the Saturday, this factory is not being used. Just imagine the woodworking tools or even the glove making machines or medical equipment. How could we use that for community purposes or just for innovation purposes? So these are some things I want to inspire you a little bit. So when you look around and you see something that's a bit excess, right? I mean, just look at shopping malls in the urban city in Malaysia. There's plenty, right? And okay, sure, you might want to use 70% for commercial reasons, 80%, by all means, go for it. There's still 20% that we can use, right? Why can't we use these spaces to create value? Of course, maybe not free perpetually, but like I said, come up with education centers that are more inclusive. So do me a favor, after today, whenever you walk around, you see something and you see something that you feel, that's quite useful. Think a bit further of how that capital could be unlocked. Ask yourself, what is the value in that capital? And then try to match that with a problem that could use that capital, and then see how to bring the two together. Now, for us, in terms of unlocking capital, we chose the path of social entrepreneurship. There's a few ways to run social innovation programs, right? You could do it through a volunteer initiative. You could do it through a campaign, an online campaign to get a message out there. You could do it through an NGO, nonprofit setup. You could do it through a corporate as well. Social enterprise or social entrepreneurship is one method of applying social innovation, and we chose that path. And we chose that path because for us, it can be so much bigger than a corporate entity. It can be much more influential and faster than government policy, and it can be way quicker to scale than just purely technology. Because tech alone is always very monetized. How do we merge tech with social problems to scale and then influence policy? So we chose social entrepreneurship as our method, and it's taken us on this journey so far. So if I'll just touch a little bit on what a social enterprise is. I'm sure some of you are familiar, some of you may be first time to it, or maybe you kind of have an idea. So Magic is the agency that accredited social enterprises in Malaysia. I think now they've merged to be Meranti, right? So it's basically any organization that has a combination of a social mission. Social mission here can also be environmental mission. You have a targeted beneficiary, a targeted area, a targeted group you're working with or you're solving. And you must also have a business model. Now, why a business model? A business model here is because you want to be able to create products or services that also has a market value. So when you have that market value, this is something that is not just designed to solve an underserved problem. This is something that is designed to solve a common problem or a common need and also tackle an underserved need. Another big benefit is, of course, the financial sustainability part. By having an inbuilt business model, you are able to be a lot more sustainable in the long run. So we chose that path, right? And there's a few criteria. You can check it out on your own. It goes from whether it's 51% of your profits should be distributed back, 51% of your workforce must come from the group. How do you channel your operations costs, how do you channel your materials costs? So go do check out Magic. They've got a full guidelines in this. Do understand it. We'll be super happy to share with you details about how to make it work. But this is some guidelines of how it's defined in Malaysia. Just to go a bit deeper on this topic, right? So social entrepreneurs, so some people ask me like, hey Rash, look, what about NGOs? NGOs are like, that's another fantastic thing. And I'm like, yes, I love NGOs, right? I think they do a fantastic work. I think you need, so this is really not an SE and corporate model is better, or an NGO model is better, or a social enterprise model is better. It really is a matter of when you want to apply social innovation, I believe it is a matter of a spectrum of models. And you need to pick at which part of the spectrum works best for your solution, your model, and your locality, your context, your community, right? So on the extreme left, you've got traditional charity, which is pure grants, donation based. You've got some NGOs that have some revenue streams, maybe through the merchandise, through the t-shirts, through education workshops. Then you've got SEs, which have got some are half donation, half grant with some products. Some are, B Corp certified, some are mission driven, but more for profit. And then you've got traditional business, some that have a very strong CSR agenda, right? Like maybe the body shop. And then you've got pure business that is just there to make loads of money and, keep it under their pillows. Now, in terms of deciding which of the model works for you, it's a very complex question. So you really need to go deeper into what are you solving, for who and how. I would say that some topics, right? So for example, just take mental health maybe, or if you're doing work for, let's just say Alzheimer's, like more severe mental health conditions. I don't think that should be a social enterprise. I think that should be purely a NGO model, right? If you're working with orphan kids, I think that should be an NGO model, not a business model. However, if you're doing recycling work, you're doing education in an urban area, if you're doing renewable energy work, I feel these types of work could apply an SE model, also maybe a business model with a CSR agenda. So personally for me, like I'm a proponent of like each model has its pros and cons, and it's up to you to see for what problem, how you're going to apply it. Okay, what kind of examples are you looking for, Joe? Maybe you could, more examples in terms of capital or in terms of social enterprise models. Maybe you can unmute. Okay, so let me do this. So the capital question, Joe, it's a huge one, because let me do this. So I'll go through a few more and let me share with you the examples we apply at Biji-Biji and Me.reka. That will be sort of the most tangible examples I can give. And then we could revisit this if you still want some clarity. Now, just to go a bit deeper on the point on whichever impact work you're doing, right? So whether you're doing the NGO side of it or the SE or the corporate side of it, there's two large frameworks that govern or guide how we create impact. On the external front, we've got the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. The UN has set 17 goals that are to be achieved by 2030. And these are very national level, global level goals. On the flip side of it, you've got ESG, which is environment, social governance. This is more of internal operations, how you would run your organization, how do you manage your supply chain, how do you manage your internal waste, your energy consumption, how do you treat your labor union in your office, how do you treat The community is direcally impacted by you. How do you deal with your taxes, risk management, your corporate governance, corruption policies? So just imagine that you'll hear these two words a lot when you do impact work, SDG and ESG. Just remember that SDG is external facing, the work you do that solves an external problem. ESG is how you do things internally. So for example, Biji-Biji, we made products from waste materials. The products that we make is solving an external problem. That's an SDG goal 12. How we pay our staff, how we treat our team members, how we deal with our own waste internally, that's governed by ESG. So SDG, external, ESG, internal. These are some extra details I won't go through very in depth, right? But this is how we measure impact at Biji-Biji and Me.reka externally, right? So quality of education, the number of courses we run, communities we work with, the amount of materials we divert from landfills, partnerships we create in terms of goal 12. At Me.reka side is how many people we train in STEM, how many communities and youth we provide access to technology, right? The number of modules we produce online that people can use, people we get into jobs, number of social enterprises we create through our programs. So these are guides, and of course you want them to be tangible, you want them to be measurable, and you need to decide what change you want to measure that will benefit your impact, and what is it that will create the most value, right? Oops. Okay, so here are a few examples that I will just quickly share upon in terms of SE models. There is a bunch, right? So you've got ones that are designed for extreme affordability. You've got a two-sided marketplace. You've got market intermediaries. Cross-subsidy is a very interesting one. So we apply this at Me.reka. So what happens is a cross-subsidy in a simple way is imagine a Robin Hood model, right? Where you take from the rich and give to the poor, some may say, or you take from the affordables to share with this less affordable. So imagine in Me.reka, we run education programs and we market this to corporates, to paid students, to businesses. From that funds, we are able to fund the income we get from there, allows us to fund our makerspace, allows us to make the makerspace available for free to public, to share our tools, to run our programs. And when we run community programs, we do it at cost, so that is very affordable. So that's an example of a cross subsidy where you charge something higher on one side so that you could make it more affordable or free for the other side. UMMC, UM Medical Hospital or UH also has the same model. They have a private wing where you pay a bit more and they use the private wing to subsidize the public wing. So it's cheaper for the public. You could also do a model where a restaurant, they have, let's just say, middle income, middle pricing food, high pricing food that is for the upper income groups. And they use that same budget, the same kitchen to also make food for lower income groups at a cheaper price. So that's one that I like a lot. Sharing economy, what I spoke about, maker spaces, you've got ethical supply chain. This is really being very articulate about how your materials flow. You've got shared ownership and cooperatives, inclusive employment. So I'm going to give the slides to the MIDP team so you guys can have it after this. So I can this is just here for you to refer after this, right? But I just want you to be inspired by the variety or the diversity in social business models. You've got micro-franchising. That's a popular one, right? That's looking at how to reduce the barrier for starting a business. So if you want to start a business, it's usually quite hard, it's usually quite expensive, right? How do I support someone who don't have the capital, don't have the money to venture capital? How do I give you the goods, let's say on consignment first? And I say you sell first for the first 3 months, only after you make money, you give it back to me. So that's really allowing you to start business without the difficulty of the initial capital. Environment sustainability, what we do at Biji-Biji, right? Even Saura Industries, our friends Ganesh, Souls Energy. You've got a buy one, free one, which is essentially for me a cross-subsidy model. Okay, so now I've shared with you the broader concept of social innovation. We've gone through a little bit about the kind of capitals that there is. I shared with you about the different social enterprise models. However, if I were to think about it, right, is it really just about business models? Is that it, right? Is it really just about have a kick-ass business model and then ta-da, voila, you're done? We don't think so, right? We think it is really about the ethos of what you do. So what makes a social entrepreneur or what sets social enterprise apart? It's beyond what you do. It is the why you do something that propels it forward, and the how. I think the how is where the details are, and that is where the nitty-gritty is, and it's the how you do it. It's how you empower the team, having democratic access, empowering each person, having a diverse workforce from not just people who think like you, but people who think differently from you, who challenge you, right? How do you create this culture where we can bring different groups together to unlock social capital and then answer the why and the what? So that for us is really what social enterprises are about. So to your question earlier, Joe, right? Just to share some of the information. No worries, Bhagia, no worries, Edward. We've got this for you, all good. So circular economy, as you know, is really solving the problem of linear consumption or linear production. So imagine I take this material, this product, I consume it. Once I'm done, chuck it at the landfill. So this depleting of resource from Mother Earth, from our land, going to a factory, being made, ending at a landfill, it's a bit crazy, isn't it? If you think about it, at some point, we're going to have landfills the size of a continent, and this is unsustainable. So how do we channel these materials back into the economy so that we could reuse these materials? What I think is interesting is that when people throw something away, it's not that the product is gone. It's not that that plastic is, yes, that product, you maybe no longer needed that cup, but the cup is still made of useful material. How could you look at it beyond the cup, but from the material that is in that cup? And how could that material be repurposed either through recycling, which is also fantastic, or upcycling? So at Biji-Biji, we work with our local partners, Sea Monkeys, and using precious plastic technology. Precious plastic is really an open source machine. So this guy called Dave Hackens, he created this, and it's an open source machine. Anybody can download the files, you can download the designs, you can check it out, and you could basically build that machine for about 5K ringgit, right? So how we apply circular economy is, now we understand that in the urban centers, there is recycling facilities. However, the city councils don't cover all localities. They don't cover every nook and cranny of our urban landscape or our rural landscape. So what happens is we place the precious plastic machine in communities. So imagine we are placing manufactured capital, machine capital in a community. Now from there, we train the community. So there's one in Selayang, there's one more in Segambut, Gombak, right? So we've got these communities, we work with them. We place the machines with them. Now we place it where places there are a lot of plastic waste. Now this plastic waste could be recycled. However, if they go through our precious plastic machine, when it's shredded, there is a higher value material, right? You could either make them into coasters like this, or even we've got a potter plant that you could make. So you take this material, you provide training. Now we help them to earn a higher value income from that materials. So the Biji-Biji team then helps to bring corporate orders to these communities so that they can either, 1A, sell a higher value product from that recycled plastic, or B, shred the plastic and get 30% higher buyback price. We help them get that sales, improve the machine, improve the supply chain, and this cycle continues. So this is an example of applying machine capital, education capital, and even just corporate networks of financial capital, right, to create a circular solution. Another example of what we do with circular economy, which we do a bit less now, but we started off doing this, which is called ethical fashion. So one of the first things we did was, we used to go to events, right? And I'm sure many of us haven't been to events the last 2 years, but if you would know, events would have a lot of banners, a lot of buntings, a lot of this like equipment, right? So we would look at how to get these materials. We started with banners and how you could repurpose these banners into products. Then from banners, we discovered seatbelt materials, kimono materials, felt, which is your carpet material. So we looked at how to make into higher value products like seatbelt bags that have been around for some time. We worked with a Japanese company who had excess kimonos. They got a partnership with Uniqlo to ship it through their container. There was excess space in the container, put it on the container, get it to Malaysia, design these beautiful bags, right? And put it back in the market. Now, as I was sharing earlier, as you're making tools, making products, we lack access to tools. And hence why we went on to set up Me.reka, which is our makerspace and education department team, right? So we've got two big things that we do, which is digital economies and industries 4.0, how to prepare teams and youths and adults for that, as well as entrepreneurship. How can people be empowered using entrepreneurial skill sets to solve their own problems or their community problems? So at Me.reka, we've got the design lab, prototyping lab, the different labs that I showed you. I would love for all of you to come and visit us as soon as you can. So one of the things we did, so in funding a Me.reka, it's not cheap, right? It's not something that just happens like this. So we also realized that, look, if this is something that people believe in and people need, how do we tap into the financial capital of the public? So as you know, if you want to get funding, you could go to a bank loan method, you could go to a venture capital method. There's also the pharma approach, is called the father-mother approach, but don't always do that, right? Let them spend themselves. So there's also another method called equity crowdfunding. So when we were going to set up Me.reka, we decided to make it as a part of a public ownership company. So when we were setting up Me.reka, we worked with Pitchin to run an equity crowdfunding campaign. So 16% of Me.reka is publicly owned by our impact investors. We raised 1.6 million ringgit to set it up and to get it going. And this is a method of, as I said, tapping into financial capital. So you could look at how we could pull small money from many people, but then giving them ownership on equity so that they will also get returns over the years. But that money that they give goes on to create a lot of positive value in that process. Now back to what I was saying earlier about academia or talent capital. So we work with Taylor's University very closely. And this is something that's always got me excited, right? Because so often we do like NGOs, social enterprises, we do really good work. But this work ends at the impact report or our annual sustainability report. It doesn't go on to influence policy change. And if you want to influence policy change, you actually need solid data to sort of prove that, okay, look, this is the sample size. This was done over a 2-year period. What did we get from it? What did we achieve? What did we get to change? So in doing that, we realized that actually academia is this place which has fantastic research talent and research potential. Universities also have an amazing set of machineries, right? If you all know, they've got all the different workshops, computer labs, everything is there. So how do we work with universities to use their facilities after hours? How do we work with their academicians, their academia, their professors to do research with social enterprises to come up with policy papers to influence law and legislation? So together with the university, we run Taylor's Me.reka Makerspace, and it's been great. It's there. We work on a project with PPR Lembah Subang, with Yayasan Hasanah and Taylor's University to make this work. We also help the students on a lot of community projects and design thinking projects. Lastly is something very close to our heart, which is about tackling underutilized resources. So we have a platform called Marekaio for people to list hubs. Hubs are creative hubs, for creative hubs to list their resources, their content, their spaces, and for them to be able to connect with their communities and grow the different creative hubs. So we see ourselves as someone who's benefited from a lot of good public support, university partnerships, financial partnerships. How do we help other hubs, other creative hubs to apply the same thing? Yep, so we've got this platform. Do check it out, mareka.io. I'd love to give you a tour one day, virtual tour. Now, I've come to the last bit of my slides for the first half of it. And another big thing that, remember I said for social enterprise, is beyond just what we do. It's the how you do it, right? And the why and the how. And the how is so important. So for us, we have one of the best things we do, and what I'm proudest of actually is our Changemaker Talent Development Program, CTDP, run by our HR team, Nazira Cash, right? And we've got a fantastic team that does this, and this is really developing young talent to become change makers. So how can they join Biji-Biji Me.reka, have a solid work experience, but also get given all the right skill set so that they can go out and create their own social enterprise, their own mission, their own movements. So for example, in the program, they get access to team management skills, hard skills, functional skills, and leadership skills. So this is how we have about 60 to 70 interns per year. So if you wanna come and do an internship with us, go check out our website, careers, just search Biji-Biji Me.reka careers. You'll find the link there. Check it out. Make sure you write a really good application because you have to put in a good one. You want to give your best. And I, of course, love to see a lot of you there. So I have come to the end of my sharing session or end for the live stream session. And now I'm going to go into a bit more on the workshop side of it. And yes. There is a few Maker Labs in Penang, actually. There is Penang Science Cluster, there's Arts Academy, do check it out. So thank you, team, for those who joined us virtually. Really excited that you guys could join us.